Since we're waiting, I'll go ahead and say a couple of things if that's all right. So today you probably would have received inside line from the TRTA office. In it, I'm talking about a couple of things. One is our legislative priorities, so you can go ahead and download that document. We're putting our fourth quarter issue of the news bulletin. Thank you very much. We're putting our fourth quarter issue of the news bulletin together right now. In that, to go along with those priorities that we have, there will be a bunch of talking points. So, you know, it's great to see the priorities, but if you don't have the most current information, or if you're not sure how to approach a subject matter, we're going to provide that. You know, those basic talking points, they'll be in the news bulletin. Another thing that you see is that one bill that we are keeping an eye on right now is filed by a friend of mine named Ken King. Ken is a state representative. Oh my gosh, trying to remember where he's from. It's out in West Texas. It'll come to me in a minute. Anyway, Representative King has filed a bill that would eliminate TRS care. And it would move active teachers out of active care and into the option to purchase or buy into the state employees healthcare program. So the bill, the way it reads, looks pretty scary because it just ends TRS care. It talks about moving people into Medicare. What I will say is that Chairman King and I have had a conversation, and what he's concerned about is that we go every session and we always talk about healthcare, but we don't come up with, you know, real long-term solutions. So that's his objective, is to try to come up with some long-term solutions. So I see my friend Bryan is Senator Hughes is there. Senator, how are you?
Tim, how's it going, brother?
Good. How are you, my friend?
It's good, man. I'm looking forward to seeing you and everybody on here in person. I got to see Ms. Bardwell the other day briefly at an event, and man, what are you in the House chamber? How'd you get in there, Tim?
Yeah. I got lots of contacts. I come over here all the time. You know, try to clean up after everybody. No. I took this picture at some point in time, and I made it my virtual background, but. I do like the beard that you've got now. That's a No Shave November deal, I guess, huh?
Yeah, I tried it. You know, I don't know if it works or not, but it was kind of a Rona thing, and I wasn't sure what voters would think about it. So far, so good. I'm afraid to ask. People on this call are not going to care. But anyway, so far, so good. I guess I'll try it. I look better with a mask on.
Well, hey, congratulations.
Is it okay to have no mask on for this call? Do y'all mind?
I think we're good.
I'm in Austin, so I got to ask. Lord, I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. 25 years, I guess, of your law practice. I saw that on Facebook the other day, so congratulations on that.
No, thanks for the encouragement, man. Now, Tim, refresh my memory. 04, the Lord brought you to Texas, 04?
Absolutely, yeah. I was going to tell everybody that story. So in case y'all don't know, my version of the story is probably different than Senator's, but I remember 2004 is when I moved here. 2005 was my first session. I show up, I'm all excited about being in the Texas Capitol. I don't really know anybody. You know, I know retired teachers that are there with me, but I don't really know any of the members yet. And I met a few of them, probably doing trips or going out and whatever. And all of a sudden, this young, good looking, you know, sharp dressed guy comes up to me and says, "Hey, Tim, how are you doing? Good to see you." And I thought to myself, how does this state representative, which I knew them all. I knew who they were, and but I didn't get to know all of them. But Bryan Hughes comes out of nowhere to greet me as though we're old friends, and it made me feel so welcome. And really, ever since that kind of greeting inside was a Capitol hearing, or I don't remember which one it was, but we've been friends ever since. And so I appreciate everything you do, Bryan. I know this is your meeting, not mine, so I just come to chime in as needed. So I'll shut up, but it really is good seeing you.
I'm thankful for you, man. Illinois' loss you're obviously a Texan, but I'm delighted that you're here. Everybody on this call, I think I can say that universally when I'm speaking to my retired teachers, wherever I am, mention of your name always gets a good review. That says a lot.
Absolutely. Well, you know, Tim, I have a similar story in that when Bryan was elected to the House of Representatives in 2003, he and I would talk by phone a lot because he would call me. He's from Mineola, and I'm a country girl. And he would call me and ask about education issues and what it was like to be a real teacher in a real classroom. And that meant a great deal to me. And I think too, because Bryan would talk and still talks and listens to educators, that helps to inform his decisions in leadership. And we really appreciate that. I wanted to introduce Bryan to all of you. You all know him and you know him well. But here's some things you need to know. To remind you, he was our representative from 2003 to 2017, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And he's been our senator since 2016. What's really important and new is that he's chair of state affairs, which is a very powerful position. And we're so pleased to see him in that position and look forward to him being a real leader in the state on important issues, including education in that position. Obviously, he's also on the education committee, which is very significant, especially to this group, as well as criminal justice, natural resources. Bryan, I'll talk to you later on that one.
That's right.
You know what's coming. And he's on the interim select committee on how to deal with the COVID pandemic protocols for the Capitol. So that's a very brief introduction, even though it may not seem like it, for a man who's multi-talented and multitasks. And he's got a meeting at 2, so I'm going to stop and let him talk to us about the legislative session and education, what we can expect, what we can hope for, and what we need to do. And then Tim will probably weigh in later.
Good. Ms. Bardwell, thank you so much. I know I see Mr. Keller, and you were so kind to have us by Zoom not too long ago. The Gregg County group, I know there's a lot of overlap, and we're all in the same neighborhood, but thank y'all so much for having me. And I am down here in Austin, and it's a different world. Downtown Longview, for that matter, downtown Golden is a lot busier than downtown Austin. It's just kind of shut down here. And the Capitol has been closed, not because of the coronavirus, but because of the riots. Back after that horrible George Floyd event, and on May 25th, I guess, on May the 30th, a protest at the Capitol in Austin got out of hand, and the Capitol grounds were overrun. You may know this. Your Capitol was spray painted. DPS troopers were injured. Some of them beat up. Cuts and bruises. Windshields busted. This historic fountain was torn down. And so the Capitol grounds had to be closed because of that. It was so bad, in fact, during that riot that the Austin Police Department, the Austin Police Headquarters, was almost overrun. We had to send about half of our troopers from the Capitol over to Austin Police Department to keep the building from being overtaken, if you can imagine that, in Texas. So now we haven't had those riots since then. There's been some attempts and some reconnaissance that the DPS got. Other things were afoot, but they've stopped it. But that's what's been going on here. So it's good to be connected with people back home. I'll be back home tomorrow. But wow, what a year. Dr. James Odom, who some of y'all work with, was writing some stuff about this. And what would we say? Historically, there may be events that have affected the world in as big a way, but to have this profound a change and this quickly, this suddenly, man. And so it just reminds us, of course, of what's eternal. And we think about the Lord and how he doesn't change and how he's a sure foundation. I know you know that, but times like these, we're sure reminded of that. And we're also blessed to live where we live, to be in Texas, and particularly in East Texas. And so as far as the session goes, the session will go on as scheduled. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like yet because of the COVID protocols and maybe a surge coming. Many folks are not wanting to get out. Many folks are going to be staying at home and not wanting to come to the Capitol. It looks like folks that do come to the Capitol will probably be tested, and that'll be at taxpayer expense, so you won't be charged for that. The folks who want to come to the Capitol and testify for a bill or do business at the Capitol, there'll be testing set up. By the way, how many of us have had a corona test, if you don't mind confessing? Okay, Tim. So, by the way, I had it back in July. I don't think I'm contagious anymore, but I had a mild case back in July. And the test I had then was that foot-long brain scraping test. I don't know if y'all have had that. It's horrible. And they've got these little quick 15-minute tests. 15 minutes to get the results. The testing doesn't take that long. So we'll have tests like that at the Capitol. So there'll be a forgive me for being so gross, but kind of a nose swab. They'll put it in some solution, have the results back. So, and again, that's not to protect me. I'm fine. The testing at the Capitol will be to protect the other citizens who are there, right? The other people who are testifying. And y'all know folks are all over the place. Some folks are more concerned about the virus than others. So we're just trying to accommodate everyone, keep the process open and keep it as safe as we can, and let people know that it's going to be safe. So that's kind of what we expect for the session. And Tim, I'm sure you're working on this, and I know I've talked to some other groups. I don't know what the plan is about your stuff in Austin or meeting, but I'm always going to be available like this or by phone, or if there's a problem with the Capitol, I'll meet you somewhere else. So I'm never going to be cloistered away or hidden from you, but we don't know yet what the building is going to be like. So Tim, I know you're working on that and staying in touch with everything. And aren't you proud of how our schools have responded? Of all the people that have been affected, we could say schools probably more than anybody else. And so we're trying to make sure they have the support they need as they get through this. I guess my supers have told me, I see one of my former supers up there, they tell me that online stuff just did not work so well for most students, right? We need to be in the classroom. Most kids need to be in the classroom. And so we're thankful that we're back doing that, except for those who have health challenges or whose parents are concerned about it. So that's going on. There's talk about a vaccine on the horizon. And so I think the plan is that for those who want it, healthcare workers and then residents of long-term care would be the first ones to get that. And then we were talking about this today. Government workers are going to have it at some point. I'm not sure if I'm going to do the vaccine. I've already had the Rona, but I'm sure not going to do it until all of our teachers who want it have access to it. We got to make sure that it needs to be available to them and our school personnel who need it. And as far as specific TRS stuff, you know what's going on, and Tim will be able to give you better detail. Last session, we plugged some holes and tried to shore things up, and there's still some work to do. But we're in good shape. We're overdue for some more work. That TRS matters, Ms. Bardwell, as you mentioned. The TRS does come normally in front of the State Affairs Committee. I've been on that committee before, but never as the chairman. So I'll be able to work even more closely with Tim and with each of y'all and whoever y'all want to represent you on TRS matters. So just know that's coming up. We're obviously thankful that we went from being 87 years to actuarial soundness to actuarial soundness. That was long, long overdue. House Bill 3, not a retired teacher matter, but a teacher matter. We all care about that. House Bill 3 was, as you know, was pretty historic funding last session, and we're fighting to make sure that's preserved. As you know, with the economy slowing down, the tax revenues aren't what they were, and the economy's the state has less money coming in. But that funding, that education funding for our teachers, all that House Bill 3 funding, no one is suggesting that would be touched. We're working hard to protect that. That'll be protected. So be aware of that. And of course, the STAR test rightfully was not done at all last year with all the problems. And now I've heard from a couple of supers about this who've told me taking the test is one thing. We all kind of want to know where we are, but not using it in the way it's been used. Under these circumstances, how could you punish schools, beat schools up? We're all going to take a while to recover, right? I'm talking about our active teachers and our students. So it will look different. Their testing may go forward, but we're not talking about using it in the way it's been used in the past. And I want to keep hearing from y'all, and TEA will make those decisions, but we'll have some input. And if we need to file legislation, we can. So, but a number of my supers have said, yeah, we want the test to see how we're doing, but it can't be the punitive thing it's been, certainly under these circumstances. So we're blessed to be where we are. There's more that I could bore you with, but let me pause. If y'all have any questions, or if you have any corrections, let's talk about that privately afterwards. But if you have questions or comments or corrections, that's okay. Anybody, if y'all got anything for me. And Tim, you're always so kind. If you need to clean up what I said, that you won't hurt my feelings.
I'll be ready to help out if there are any questions. So,
Mr. Gilbert's having a hard time holding back. I can tell he really wants to say something, but it's okay. You don't have to. It's good to see you.
Yeah, I will say that, right now, Senator TRS is reporting that they will be actuarially sound. I think the TRS board meets next week, and they changed their rate of return assumption. And so the economy's been so bad in so many sectors. But I think the good news about TRS is that they will hit their investment rate of return assumption. So everything that you all did last session is working. Even in a down economy, I think TRS is going to report that they're actuarially sound. So probably just actuarially sound, but we're not, like you said, we're not 87 years or something that's ridiculous. We're on the right path. So that's pretty good news.
That's encouraging. That's encouraging. And Ms. Bardwell, I know I've seen you again. We were together not long ago over in Upshur County, but it's good to see you upright and doing well. I don't want to violate any HIPAA restrictions, but my goodness, last time Ms. Bardwell and I were in Austin, we were with Cody Terry, her former student and my chief of staff, and she was in the ER. But because you're fine, we can talk about it now. But it's
one of my favorite life stories.
I may have a picture.
That Senator Hughes came to visit me in the hospital with an entourage. He had an entourage.
I have a picture from that very moment that was on my screen today. So it's funny how things like that work out. Senator, I will say one thing that we may need a little help on.
Yeah.
And maybe you can put a bug in the Lieutenant Governor's ear. TRS is under sunset, which is a different process than state affairs. And one of the things that Sunset Commission reported was that the agency has lost a little of that friendly, cooperative openness with its members, with the retired teachers and the active teachers themselves. So I think that's one of the things that this session, as we go through what may be, less dependent, the session will probably have a lot of ups and downs like always, but we're expecting that we've got to maintain a pretty tight walk on our major objectives, which would be funding what we passed last session. And the sunset process is a big deal. TRS hasn't been under sunset for 16 years. So we're going to pay attention to that. But the issue that I'd like to potentially get some help on is that our foundation, our association, we started an online tutoring program, and we're signing up hundreds of retired teachers that can go online and do tutoring help with our students all across the state.
Good.
And we're hitting some TRS rules that they're interpreting a certain way, which I think they shouldn't be interpreting that way. We've approached Governor Abbott to do an executive order to try to stop TRS from doing that. So perhaps if we can unite the power of the Lieutenant Governor's office, your office, and the governor, we might be able to solve that problem before it gets to be too big.
Tim, I'll call him today. I'll get a little more detail from you.
Yep.
And I hope it can be done at the executive level. If it takes a bill, I'd be tickled to file the bill. I mean, but
Great.
please, you tell me what to do and I'll do it.
Okay, well,
on
we'll
that.
visit.
And as far as TRS's user friendliness, you didn't use that term, but I am interested in that. I know from talking to retired to now retired teacher friends, I know, how does it work? Do you you're thinking about retirement, or you're getting close, and so you make a trip to Austin and you talk to them. It's kind of a big deal, and it's kind of a process I've heard about from many of you guys over the years. But yeah, they need to be working with you and serving. You're supposed to serve the people who serve. That's you.
Yeah, well, you've probably seen in your law practice, there are appeals that happen, and people don't like judgments and things. And so in our current healthcare program, TRS Care, if you don't like the way your insurance has handled your bill, you have no appeals process. And so you just have to take it. So that's one of those areas. There's some return to work things that I think could be fixed. And my good friend, Senator Colkhorst, is a person that we need to kind of talk to and get her opinions on and how we can move forward on that. So they're just issues, and I know we'll solve them. We'll have time to get it figured out.
Thank you for, go ahead, Ms. Bardwell.
I'm sorry, Bryan. One of the things that we talked about at the superintendent's meeting that you attended is that one of the things that could be done to help the schools, particularly during this pandemic and the shortages they're expecting, is to do away with the penalty to the public schools for the hiring of the retirees within that time frame where there's penalty. And that would help tremendously. There's such a huge shortage, and it's just going to get bigger.
That makes perfect sense. You know, when I first got here in '03, as you were recounting that retire rehire matter, it just comes up many times. That was kind of a big deal, and they worked something out. And I confess, it was never clear to me the problem. If a retired teacher wishes to return to the classroom, and then go back in the system and continue to pay into the system, what's the harm? And I know there was more to it, and there's some quirks that have to be worked out. But yet we have all this talent and all this wisdom, and we need it, and those kids need it. And as you say, with shortages now, and who knows what the coronavirus will do to that, maybe teachers, maybe some not wanting to return. And y'all know, just generationally, we're about to lose a bunch of teachers. So yes, and y'all help me with the details, but yeah, let's fix that. Let's don't let that go to waste.
Yeah, Senator, there's no actuarial gain on those surcharges. And mostly they were put in place because of our healthcare situation. Prior to the 2017 session, when healthcare changed so much, people would retire at much younger ages. And since 2004, the average age of retiree has gone all the way up to about 62 or almost 63 years of age. Prior to that, it was like 58. And so when you have that much spread on the healthcare costs, it was creating quite a problem. But today, it's significantly changed. Those problems are way in the rearview mirror. And I think that, as Ms. Bardwell said, and certainly you suggested, the idea of having those surcharges is the thing of the past.
Amen. Let's get rid of them. If it takes a bill, let's file a bill.
Good.
Brian, one other thing while we're talking about mentioning the health insurance, we're a lot of the retirees are struggling.
I know.
You know, the average TRS monthly annuity is something like $2,096. And half, according to Tim's research, half of all TRS annuitants receive less than $1,800 a month. And yet we depend on that health insurance and those premiums, being affordable.
That's
and
right.
I sure hope you'll help us do that.
Oh, you're so right. And, you remember in 17, for years and years, a lot of money was put in place to keep those premiums from coming up and keep those deductibles. But then everything caught up with us in 17. And I know, I'm telling Noah about the flood. Many of y'all were retired at the time, had to deal with that. And since that time, we put more money in to shore it up. But yes, ma'am, it's my goodness, even if you don't get a raise, even if you get a raise in your annuity and it's eaten up by those premiums. Oh, no, you're right. We can't ignore that. You're exactly right.
Well, and this will be my last comment because I know you're going to probably have to get off the phone pretty soon, but the healthcare situation, Senator, I don't want you to be shocked by what TRS has probably already talked to you about, or may talk to you about soon. And that is, they're expecting a billions of dollars surplus in the TRS care fund. And none of us know really how that happened. Now, TRS does, but they've given some information on it, but I'd really like to see a whole lot more being provided. We went from what we were told when session was ending last time, so the 2019 session, we were told as we were leaving, going to sine die, that we would have an over $600 million negative balance.
Right, that's what we were expecting. Yeah.
And so really around September, I think we started hearing that TRS Care was having multiples of billions of dollars of surplus. Huh. So it's really difficult to imagine that we would have gone, significantly the other way with just the kinds of things that TRS maybe, they talk about procurement and contract negotiations and those sorts of things, but multiples of billions. And if untouched, they could last a decade. And again, man. And that's, I'd love to hear about surpluses in TRS Care. But as Ms. Bardwell said, you've got retirees that, earn, less than $2,000 a month, and they're between themselves and their spouse, their healthcare premiums are $500 a month. Oh yeah. Social Security, and that doesn't count the out-of-pocket maximums or the out-of-pocket. Oh yeah. So just something for us to really dig into this session as to how and why and what will the surplus mean for retired teachers on their health care.
Yeah, man, I see what you mean. The surplus is normally good news, but not when it was extracted from our retirees. Man, Yeah. I mean, of course, we'll try to get some answers, but you let me know what you find out. That's, yeah. Oh man.
Blue.
Good. Good. Man, thank you guys so much. Now you can carry on with the profitable part of the meeting. I'm going to step off and let y'all get back to business. But Ms. Bardwell, you're so kind to invite us and work with us on the time. And I hate to be so difficult. The reason we weren't sure about scheduling this is because meetings are going on yesterday and today about how to get the Capitol back open. And I was stuck here. So thank you for working with us and letting us meet with you like this. Thank y'all.
Thank you for being here, Senator Hughes. We appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Thank y'all so much. Hope y'all have a great Christmas, and Lord willing, we'll see each other in person before long.
Look forward to it.
Thanks a lot.
Hope so.
Bye.
Okay. Thank you, Suzanne. Do you or Tim want to follow up on anything that this was about before we move on?
Absolutely. While we have Tim available to us, you betcha. Mr. Lee.
Yes, ma'am.
Lay it on us. What do we need to do? How do we need to do it? When
Well,
do
I applaud y'all for having the senator on, and you know, it's so many changes are going on. I'm glad to hear him say that he thinks that we'll have a real session. And this morning I talked to somebody else and they're not on his level. So the message that I got this morning, it was going to be gavel in, gavel out. And so I hope not, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And there's a lot of speculation about what could be done. I think for us, the big picture is that we have to make sure that our pension funding is there. That is what, that's the number one priority of our members. It still remains such. If we ever hope to get a raise, which I think we really deserve to receive, and it's good to hear the senator say that it's been a long time in coming for so many people, we've got to get that funding, in the budget. And healthcare funding is the other area that we're going to get attacked on. December 7th, which is just this coming Monday, the TRS Sunset Commission is having a meeting. We were slated for testimony. We were told they were not going to take public testimony now because of the coronavirus. We sent in our recommendations on Sunset, which, those of you remember, Sunset's that process where TRS has to pretty much justify their existence. They're constitutionally required, so they will exist, but they have to justify all the things that they're doing and how they're doing it. And we gave them a bunch of recommendations on return to work, healthcare, pensions, all kinds of things. And so once that meeting is over, we'll release our comments about Sunset. But my best suggestion right now is keep doing what you're doing, having these kinds of discussions, keep together as a local, know that most of our advocacy is going to be done this way. And so during the session, you probably should have a team like this that's going to get your senator and your state reps on the Zoom and communicate with them about what's going on. Look for the first 2 issues of our news bulletin. So we've got one coming out at the end of December, and then there'll be another one probably the end of February. Right now, because our day at the Capitol has been switched from an in-person live day at the Capitol, we're going to go to a day at the Capitol. We are going to, let me see if I would change my picture. Y'all remember the red shirts we always wear. And there we go. So this is one of my pictures from, Capitol. These are all of the red shirts in the gallery. You see them back there. So we have decided that since we cannot fill the Capitol with red shirts, we are going to fill the Capitol with red envelopes. And we're going to be sending, we hope, thousands and thousands of red envelopes to every member's office during the week, the virtual advocacy week that we'll host, and be telling everybody why it is that we need done what we've done. So we're going to try to include that red envelope in your newsletter, along with a document that has our priorities and then a blank page that allows you to write your story. And so that'll be coming out probably 45 days prior to our virtual advocacy week. And so you'll be able to use that to really, deliver the message. We may not be there, but we will not be unheard or forgotten. So be ready to be engaged, and we look forward to it. So anything that any other questions y'all have right now?
Tim, what about re-entry into the healthcare program for those people who opted out and
Yep.
also spouses.
Yeah, so we're going to file a bill that would allow TRS to have a couple of enrollment options. We had one filed last time, and we'll file the same language this time. We'll improve it some based on how the bill had moved through the process last time, but we call it the golden ticket. And so if you left for any reason, and would like to be able to come back, but TRS is saying, no, you cannot come back. We believe that every retiree should have the opportunity to have at least one golden ticket. The person who filed the bill for us, I think, gave maybe 3 or 4 tickets or opportunities for people to come back. But at a minimum, especially knowing that TRS is now bankrolling all kinds of reserve on the backs of the retirees, which I'm sorry, I have to tell you, I'm a little offended that the way that this is being approached is that it's good news that we have this surplus. Surpluses come because people pay in more than they have to. And it's just like insurance, any other kind of insurance, you take in what you need in revenue to pay the claims and make a profit. TRS should not be making a profit and building this massive reserve when the retirees can barely afford to go to the doctor the way it is. And so we've got to realign what we expect our folks to be doing. And so anyway, an opportunity for re-enrollment is one of the things that could be done to potentially use the reserve in a positive way. All right. Well, along with reducing costs, reducing premiums, reducing out-of-pocket costs, changing the deductibles, putting in a real Medicare supplement plan as opposed to just a Medicare Advantage plan. All of these things could be considered when it comes to our healthcare. So, if I had the chance to lead that discussion, and we may get to be the leaders on that discussion, we'll leave several of those suggestions and see where we go. All right, y'all. Well, hope y'all don't feel like I was crashing the party, but it was fun to see everybody. And I'll extend my Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you as well. Look forward to seeing how 2021 can be better than 2020. And if 2021 is listening, you don't have to work that hard to be better than 2020. It just has to be a little. So, all right. Anything else y'all want to know? Otherwise, I'm going to say goodbye and I'll talk to y'all next time.
Tim Lee, I want to say how important it was that you found the time on short notice to come on with us, because when the senator looks at your face, he sees the 82 to 90,000 members across the state. And there may be 15 of us on here right now. It will be recorded. It will be posted on our sites. But when they see your face, they know that there are thousands and thousands behind that face. So thank you for being here.
I would do it. You call me 5 minutes before. I will figure out a way to get done with what I'm doing and get on your call. So y'all, I appreciate it so much. It's good seeing y'all.
Good to see you.
You're never a party crasher.